Do you have thoughts on that from your perspective, mixing otherwise?
Yeah, the story I just told kind of sets the terms for how I feel about that. There's usually something intentional about what people send you, especially in the mix phase. I understand the production phase. That is why someone needs a producer. But sometimes the producer doesn't do everything that they need to do. And then it takes a trusted finisher to do what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I tend to not, on a technical sense, I tend to not sample replace. I tend to not change sounds. But for example, on the record that I just did last week, there was no bass, really. The bass was an octave too high, and it's potentially bad monitoring. And it's like, why is there no low end in this record? It's kind of a emo-ish rock production, so I understand that you want that overdriven, maybe Fender Mustang bass sound. But why is there no sub to feel competitive like every other record that comes out? So I dropped it down an octave, but I kept the main tone of what was there. So I added
duplicated, added a sub.
Yeah, so it had sounded sick, and it was awesome. So moves like that will be made, but really what we're talking about is like, how do we hear music? How do people that have a lot of output and consistently hired, like
lot of reps.
A lot of reps. And I think another quote comes to mind. I wrote this down today, same podcast from Daniel Schmachtenberger. If a job is worth doing, do it beautifully. And he was referencing the idea that he was building a house with his father when he was younger, and the wiring was run perfect. And he asked his dad, like, why? It's going to be behind drywall. And that's when the quote was dropped, like, if a job's worth doing, do it beautifully. Like, every detail should be beautiful, right? So back to earlier, the conversation of S's and fixing S's came up. That question's like, no double breaths, no clicks and pops. These are things that can be attended to and take pride in, right? Like, I have a hard time with the word pride in general, but I don't think you have to take pride in oneself to take pride in work, right? And pride in art. So take the time, and that's where I come into play. I clean a lot of things up like that, and not destroying the vibe. And like, if there's noise and things, sometimes that's cool, right? But there are certain things that are just they're distracting from the journey of the record, right? So that's what I think. That's like, digital clipping is one thing, but digital pops they're not timeless. They're not interesting. There's nothing about that. The way a sample flips and is duplicated, and there's a pop on the end of an analog transient from a vinyl record, is different than a bad loop because someone was lazy and forgot the crossfade. That's never going to be cool, and you're not going to hear that in 20 years. You'd be like, sick move, man. That's so tight. Yeah,
there's the occasional, like, on some of those Timbaland samples where you hear just like a little click at the beginning of it, and that's part of the effect of it. But
yes, but it's not really digital. That's like a MPC. That's like where the sample, it's a little bit, it's a little different. Yeah. It's rounded off because the converter that's in that piece of gear, right? It's different than a Pro Tools non-crossfade, right? So that's the care, the understanding of all those details is what matters.
This is such a big point. The care. I will say that, like, can I just like interrupt real quick?
No, please.
I'd say, so I get hired a lot to finish productions. I do a lot of writing. I posted a story a week or two ago with a bunch of songs I worked on. Probably co-wrote 2/3 of them. But a lot of the stuff I get hired for as well is finishing productions. And a huge part of what I do, like the big secret, is I just take the time and I listen to the vocal all the way through, and the double breaths or the parts that aren't crossfaded, or like the second S of the same word in the chorus is different and messed up, so I copy it out. I get rid of clicks and pops. I get rid of half breaths. There's a lot of half breaths when people bounce stuff when they're cutting their own vocals. So you just get like, you see the normal breath waveform before the big waveform, and it just starts here. So I just take a breath from somewhere else. So I just listen to the vocal with compression on or with some sort of saturation, like you're talking about. You turn it up all the way so you hear where all the breaths are. You max out, like you were talking about last week. You max out the Faraday, the Faraday limiter thing. Good hertz.
Good hertz,
And so you just hear everything in the vocal, all the background noise, all the breaths, all the clicks, all the pops. And I just go through and take all that stuff out. And if I only did that, it would make almost everything I do sound better. Like when I get hired to do something, there's so much care that can be taken. And like you said, I think you said it beautifully. It's not I don't have the pride in me. I have the pride in the music, in the work, in the art. Like, I want to be a part of something that's great. I don't have any illusions that when I am finishing a production, like a couple of these James Arthur songs, Red Triangle did them, the song SOS, which I don't think anybody's heard yet, which is amazing. Like, and Medicine was the first single. Like, these guys did an amazing amount of work, and I just went in and just like leaned into it and was just like, I want to be careful with this song and these recordings and see what I can hear, or hear what I can hear and see what I can do, and just take the time and go in and like, can I make this vocal a little clearer? Can I make this guitar transition a little bit better? Where's the downbeat? Why is the downbeat hitting this way? Can I make it more impactful? I see what they're trying to do. Let me enhance it. And it's very much probably one of the main reasons you and I love having these conversations is our brains work very similarly, but we do kind of technically different pieces of the process, because you are more of a mixer, sound designer, finisher, and I'm more of a producer, writer, sound designer, finisher. But
but I come at it as a producer.
Exactly.
I hear the record as a producer, and I make mixed moves. And
as a producer, I come in and go, I think we can get the high end a little bit clearer on these S's. The saturation isn't right. Let me see what I can do. And I think really the care more than anything else is what has separated me from a lot of my peers. And it's really a pride in the art and the process and care for other people's work that I'm a part of.